but I look at my time and my availability as a constraint. And here's what I mean by a constraint. There's something in physics called the Venturi Effect. And I'll make this really simple. Think of that as you're watering your garden, right? And you pull out the hose. What do? You go to Best Buy or someplace, or not Best Buy, you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, and you get a nozzle, and you put on the end of your hose, and then you turn the water on. Well, what does that nozzle do? It constrains the water.
Yeah.
So that you actually use less water, but it sprays more.
Yeah.
So when you think of a constraint, you think of how can I do less but cover more ground? So what led me to that, and this is one of the stories I always talk about that has radically changed my life in the last 4 or 5 years. It was in 2018, 2018, in August, I had a major bout with vertigo. It wiped out my vestibular system, which is your balance system.
Yeah.
It impacted my right inner ear nerve by 86%, so I only had 14% capability. I was in the hospital for a day and a half, was rushed by ambulance. I'm saying, and the doctors are looking and saying, this is not normal. I'm like, yeah, it's not normal because I can't walk. I can only walk with a walker. And this was like, and this all happened 6 weeks before my TEDx talk. And so I lay in bed for a week. I'm a business owner and a contractor, and I'm laying there, but my talk, because I've been doing a lot of research in neuroscience, my talk was, what if practice is the performance, the neuroscience of music? And one of the things about musicians, anyone who plays music, is that the brain is really activated when you're playing, right? Left and right hemisphere is always talking to each other. And if there's damage in your brain in any form or fashion, the brain begins to figure out how to work around that network or that damaged area and rewire itself. Yeah. So as soon as I could get up, I started practicing my bass, one of those basses behind me, and just play for an hour. So I thank God I could still play, and then I'd go back to bed. And literally, I'm like using the walker to go back.
Yeah.
I did that for 3 weeks every day, and I just took small steps. It was walking to the end of the hall, walking downstairs, walking to the front porch, walking to the mailbox. And these were days, walking to the front of the yard, walking down the street to the neighbor's house. And within 3 weeks, between practicing, praying, and walking, I walked into my ear, nose, and throat doctor's appointment, the first one, a major one I had, unassisted. And he looked at me, he goes, I could tell you've been impacted. And after they'd done the test, he goes, okay, what are you doing? And I told him I'm a musician, I'm preparing for my TEDx. I hadn't given that up. And 3 weeks later, I was on stage in Delaware delivering my TEDx talk, which is on the TED platform right now. And if you watch it, I'm very gated. When I turn, I'm very deliberate because I was still very impacted. I still have this issue today. And so I've had it since I started, not when I wrote my first book, but the second and the third book, I've had it. And I've just learned to live with the constraint. I don't call it a disability, I call it a constraint. So it's restricted, some things that I can do, but there's other things that I can do that actually provide more value to myself, to my clients, to my network, to those that I'm involved with. And I get more done now, and I have more time on my hands.